So my name is Laura. I am a subject matter expert and a lived experience expert in human trafficking. I was trafficked for 10 years of my life. And after exiting the life, I had to learn how to become a mom and function and figure out my own mental health and how to survive outside of like my exploitation. So
Mhm.
I just recently kind of kicked in the doors of anti-trafficking a little over a year ago and started Survivor Source, which is my own nonprofit that was initially to try to gather as many resources nationwide as I could for survivors to access in one local place. And I quickly learned that communication and partnership and just being reliable in the movement is not a common standard. So my resource hub was not necessarily how I wanted it to be or how I wanted it to grow because of that. So I started building more of a community with the Survivor Career community, which is an opportunity I got to expand on from Rama Recruiting, who does recruiting work or what we would say, job placement and job search help for survivors of human trafficking. And they tasked me with having a community that could meet weekly and work on professional development stuff. And that's what I did. I've learned a lot more about sharing resources and vetting and all of those sorts of things just by having a community of survivors that are around me doing it with me. But yeah, the survivor career community has just shown me that we're resourceful by nature. And when there's a collective of us, we can easily kind of decipher those resources and share what's worked and what hasn't, and ideas on how to approach those people in different ways to try and get different reactions and all types of stuff. So that's been, I think, a way bigger expansion of what I originally wanted to create anyway.
I love it, and I'm so happy that you're taking time out today to come on the podcast, and
Yeah,
I'm so honored to be part of this group too. I can't
it's
even remember
awesome,
how
man.
I found you. I think it was probably Elevate Academy.
It might have been Elevator Facebook. I know a
It
lot of
wasn't
you
Facebook.
guys because I know I had put some feelers out there with some of my friends that don't normally they're not even a part of the FCC, but they pushed it out there for me, and a lot of people just showed up, so it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm just so honored. And I didn't, this is so me. Like I jump in, right? And then I figure things out. I didn't even really know. I remember the first group, I didn't even really know what I was doing there or what it was about.
Yeah, yeah. I get random Zoom links on my email all the time, and I'm just like, I don't remember signing up for this one, but let me just pop in and see what it is real quick. And most of the time, I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about this crap. Or
Yeah, and for
I
me,
sign up for everything though.
yeah, this was my first survive. Well, I did do Elevate Academy, so that's not true.
Yeah,
But then, like
yeah,
after Elevate, I was craving like more survivors. Like, what are they doing in this field, and how are they showing up? And the biggest example I feel like you set for me, just as a survivor leader, is how to share your story in a way that you feel comfortable sharing it, right? The
yeah,
way you're showing up on TikTok, girl, I'm like, what? Like, I feel like I'm studying your videos because you have this great way of just giving like a snippet of it, like a little. It's like watch it, like think of a movie, right?
yeah,
And you take like these certain parts of the movie that impacted you the most or that you want to share with someone. That's what I feel like when I'm watching it and I'm studying it so I can learn better how to share my story and what I feel comfortable with. And
yeah.
you're all out there. They're like, you get raw and real and vulnerable. And I
I'm not,
love it.
s- and that's where I'm comfortable because I grew up in a raw and uncomfortable space. And I grew up around people that spoke their piece no matter how it sounded, and that was in a way empowering to me, even when it was harmful. So, um, I study leadership and I've been studying a lot of different leadership ideology and ways that leaders that I follow are impacting people and how they process information themselves.
Mhm.
So one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now is called Project Alinea, and I'm wanting it to be like a leadership formation for survivors of trafficking, where we're training our minds and our body and everything just to lead with authenticity, lead with a collaborative heart, and lead in a way that we're protecting ourselves, but not sugarcoating, as you can say, to the public, but also how to monetize that. Because I feel like some of the biggest things that I'm having issues with in the movement right now are people are not authentic. And I'm not pointing fingers, you know what I mean? Like everyone's seen something. The movement, there's so many different sides and so many arguments and so many like things that really shouldn't matter because I mean there's kids being sold outside, you know what I mean? Like that's a problem. That's what I want to worry about. I don't want to worry about, oh, did they say prostitute, or did they say this, or did they do that? Oh, I heard that guy, like I don't want to get caught up in the rumors and the drama. I want to focus on the main core problems, which are that human trafficking is still happening in America, and it is a prevalent problem, and our public doesn't know about it, and if they do know about it, they don't know what to do about it. Our law enforcement may know about it, but they don't know what to do about it. Our service providers know about it, but they don't know what to do about it. And, there's just already so much out there trying to address these issues that I'm like, okay, well, we need just like a common thread. If survivors want to step up, let's formate. Let's be mindful. Let's be intentional. Let's learn how to be authentic in our own ways, but still push a brand that's neutral and not harmful. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm pushing for with that. And right now I'm in this development stage where I'm talking to people. And a lot of the TikTok stuff I've been doing, it's because I've sat down with people that are so different than me, with such different perspectives than me. I'm talking former Marines. I'm talking like hardcore Christians. And I'm not a person of faith. I believe in a higher power, but um my faith is for me personally, and it's not something that I like to share with others. But saying that to say, I've learned some of the most valuable leadership skills and some of the most valuable perspectives from people that are so different from me. People that can sit there and say, yeah, like all of my friends, we were coming off deployment, and as soon as we hit a big city, we were looking for a girl to call, like, whoa, really? Okay, so how can we have this conversation where I don't offend you and make you feel like I'm pointing fingers, but you're also not looking at me and being like, oh, this hooker, like, no, like we're both grown ass adults. Let's have this conversation, because if you guys are all coming into town and you think that you're paying consenting adults every single time, you're wrong. And if that's genuinely what you think, okay, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of people are open to having those conversations, but I've been doing it and it's been blowing my mind.
I know
So,
you're blowing my. You are very good at that,
dude,
just in
it's
the group
crazy.
too, because we have a lot of different people in the group, a lot of different beliefs, a lot, and you're so
Yeah.
great. And you touched on faith for just a second, and one of your TikToks really struck me because you were talking about all of the different buyers
Yeah.
that you have experienced in your life, right? Law
Mhm.
enforcement being the worst, right? Horribly cruel, some being kind, like you described the buyers, but that wasn't the point that I got. And you said
Yeah.
at the end of that video, this shocked me. And you were like, but you know what? I still have faith in humanity.
Yeah. I
Good
know. It took
jaw
me a while
drop.
to get there, dude. It took me a while to get there.
How did you get there?
I don't know. These past 2 years, re-emerging, because I mean, a lot of people don't know, but when I was way younger, I was put through a program as a alternative to incarceration for a prostitution charge. And I don't talk about it because I'm not gonna put an opinion out there that can be harmful to myself or anyone else. But I will say that I was put through a survivor leadership training, and it trained me on the victim words. It trained me on none of that, like all of this happened to me. I can't do any. It made me feel like powerless. And when I saw that, I was like, I have a lot more power on the track. at least I can do what the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? And I'm a child mentality, right? Like this is ridiculous. You guys are sitting here to telling me to sit here and do nothing but share my story and cry and be like, what? No, I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna get some money. I want to eat dinner. I want to have like, new stuff. My mind. That's where I'm at, right? And I just think that some of the things I saw in that initial introduction into the movement were really harmful to me, and it had a lot of an effect on me waiting so long to come into the movement. And the past 2 years that I've been dabbling and been here, I've just been amazed because I've seen like things that are just as horrendous as what I saw in the life. And then I've also seen people that touched me to the point where I was like, I don't know how any of this could be possible without these people surrounding me. Like they've impacted me so much. I can't imagine living my life without them having graced my presence. And that's why I think humanity, like it, because we're so focused on America and what's happening here and trying to prove to people like, hey, it's not these people abducting us and going across to another country. It's not being trafficked from Mexico. Like it's happening in the home, it's happening in families, it's happening in neighborhoods, in cults. It's also saying like, hey, humanity as a whole, like there's people that suck everywhere, no matter what country you're in, no matter what belief system you have, no matter where you are or what you do or what profession you're in. So I feel like the anti-trafficking movement is the same. And once I realized that, because I think there's this like expectation for us, or at least for me, that anti-trafficking is supposed to be safe, and anti-trafficking is supposed to be a place that survivors can find like any organization that's in the movement, any person that's in the movement, and be like, hey, I need help. And once I broke that delusion, I was like, okay, cool. Like I can come in here and I can be a voice for people, and I can understand to myself, like, I'm not going to be able to do crisis intervention because nobody ever helped me. And I'm still out here struggling. You know what I mean? But I can pop off and come in here with swinging the door open. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I have to say, and hope to inspire people and have other survivors step up and, like, realize they don't have to re traumatize themselves, that there's so many different ways to be involved because we all just are gluttons for punishment, I guess, and we want to make a difference so bad and we want to help other people so bad. You know what I mean? And
And
it,
then, like, we talk about this in our group
yeah,
because we
yeah,
want
yeah.
people so bad, because we have such this heart for that. A lot of times we end up getting re-exploited because we even like exploit ourselves because we're like, oh yeah, I'll do it for free. Sure, yeah, I'll tell my story. I'll do everything for free. Right? And then it feels like, oh, and then we don't want that because then you're going to start feeling like sort of resentful. And so I love that you help us navigate that. Like we have, discussions in our group about how much do we get paid. Remember that one group was a heated, just not heated.
Yeah, that was so
You know,
fun.
because how do you balance? Like, okay, you actually need money, but yet you don't want to take such a low amount that you make it harder for survivors coming up behind you. Oh, well, she took this
Absolutely.
much money.
And what's so crazy to me is that that's a literal parallel of my years on Backpage. Are like, oh, well, this girl's doing $50 specials. So now everybody that's calling us is asking for this. Like, what
Yeah.
are we supposed to do? This is BS. And now it feels like that, like this correlation between the life and consulting and anti trafficking. Because
Mhm.
what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Um, because we shouldn't have to make those choices. We shouldn't have to make those decisions. And this isn't like just a call out, but just the fact that almost every single survivor leader that I know, including myself, we are all still struggling in some way. I mean,
Mhm.
some of us are okay and some of us has figured it out, but they're not. A lot of them aren't in anti-trafficking. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it's hard and we wear it so well because we're so used to surviving,
Hmm.
But I wish that people would recognize that and say, like, if we really want lived expertise, if we really want people that chime in that know, that are close to the problem, then we have to pay them fairly, or they're not going to be sustainable enough to help us anymore. Even like, look at what it is. What is in it for you? The WIFM for NGOs, the WIFM for police, for the government agencies. The WIFM is that if you pay us the federal rate for consultancy, that we can sustain our living and we can take care of ourselves and our family and we can be more mentally adept to actually make changes in the community. You know what I mean?
Because, like we said, like they need our expertise.
Exactly. But we're out here like dying, you know?
Like, and somebody in Elevate Academy, when I went through that program, they, she said, one of the trainers, she said that she was called in to do some consulting job and they weren't going to pay her. And she actually said to them, so do you get paid? Do you get paid? Do you, she was asking like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why are you asking me, a survivor of sex trafficking, to be the only one in the room that doesn't get paid? Do you
Yeah,
understand
yeah, yeah.
what your company is doing? Do you want to be that company that doesn't pay, that says, "Oh, we want to help human trafficking, we want to help sex trafficking, but you're not going to pay me to come in"? I thought
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
so great when she
absolutely.
said that.
No, a lot of people do that. And I mean, there's even curriculum that's being passed out from family justice centers and things like that, where it's modeling that survivors should volunteer to be voices for NGOs and um for family justice centers through attorney general's offices, that we should be volunteering our voices to help the community while they use our voices to apply for grant funding, you know, and it's just like, okay,
You brought me aware of that. How
that's
much
a
money they make
problem.
off
Yeah,
of our, when we do a
that's
consult.
literally the definition of
Oh,
exploitation.
exactly. Right.
So, you know, if we look at it like that, yeah, I mean, I think that the anti-trafficking space has grown and it always has been harmful as far as I know because of what I've seen, but I think it's grown far worse and we've really boxed people into categories of, oh, these are survivors that are willing to share the worst trauma in the world and we can put them on the forefront and we can have them say whatever. And you know, then, oh, well, here's survivors that if we pay them enough, they'll do this. And, oh,
Yeah.
here are our trainers that are not survivor led. And here are these. Like, they've really boxed us in to just call us up when they need us and not involving us in the actual systems change, in the actual trainings, in the actual things that, you know, we could be getting paid for.
Yeah.
And that's,
Your organization, Survivor Source, is so important. I just want to get it out there. Like, if there's any survivors watching, drop a heart in comments if you feel comfortable. And we're going to put the link for Survivor Source. I don't know how you want to do that. We can talk about how you want to do that. Just if there
yeah,
are
yeah.
survivors that are watching and need help getting,
Yeah, no, you can always put the website in there. I think they can access the Survivor career community and all that stuff from the main website. So,
and the resources that you give us in there are incredible. How you did that whole website for it. You did all of those trainings in there and
oh
templates.
yeah.
It so easy. I accessed a lot of that stuff when I was applying
Oh, good.
at Ancora.
That makes me feel so good.
I know. I was like, you have made it so easy. I just felt like so supported. It was so great. So I love that. It's not just like, hey, I want to help survive. Like, you actually have resources, a ton of resources. And anytime anyone in that group is like, hey, I need this or this is happening. Because as we know, as survivors, it doesn't end, right? Just because you're not in that life anymore, it doesn't end because that trafficker is still out there and
Yep.
still wreaking or people associated to that trafficker. So stuff can come up a lot, as you've had happen, I've had happen. And it's so nice to have this group of women who I can go and say, hey, this is happening right now. And you just like, everyone just rallies around you and
Yeah.
comes up with as many resources as they can to help you through that, you know. So I love that so much.
And I love it too because I mean, you know, I'm doing like a bajillion things right now just to function, to live, and to also try to grow what I'm trying to do. So, I've loved being able to like see somebody will send something in one of the group chats that we have, and they'll be like, "Oh, I need to step away and find a resource for them, or I need to step away," and then I'll lose track of time for like 20 minutes, and I'll get on there and I'll see like 20 messages from you guys, and I'm like, "Yes, like you guys are so awesome," and that's what I want people to see too, is that like when we're left to our own devices, like yeah, it's survivor founded, it's survivor led, but I just provided a space, and as peers, we all can step up and be a
Mhm.
part of something, because just like I'm not making money for Survivor Source. You know what I mean? Like, no, that doesn't happen. And when it does, it's little things like, oh, let me send gift cards to the group, or let me do, it's like a little donation, something tiny. And while I do appreciate that, I am having to work other jobs and I am having to do other stuff. And you guys have just like literally fulfilled the group prophecy in my head of just like, yes, they're sustainable. I can chime in. It's not dependent on me, because you
Right.
guys are all leaders in your own right. You know what I mean? And it just feels so freaking good to see that. Like, it makes me so happy.
I love that. And you show up for us every week and you're so transparent too. You're like, guys, this is what I'm going through. I'm going through something
Yeah,
right, right? But I love when you do that because it shows us, okay, she's still showing up for us. And it shows us what's possible, that we can have the worst day in the world or just be going through some really horrible things, and yet we can still show up for each other, for ourselves. Like, I love that. And I love that the kids are in the
absolutely.
background in the group, because again, you're showing us you're not like, oh, I can't do the group tonight because I don't have childcare, or the, like, you just keep going.
Yeah.
Real. Like, that's real.
That's the resiliency, and that's what I see in all of you guys too. I mean, there's moments where I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? My neuropathy will be so bad sometimes. I'll be like, there's no way. Like my job site's an hour away. If I just sit there and drive like this, I'm gonna feel like I'm having a heart attack the whole way. And then I'm like, you know what? Wait, 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 screw that, because I gotta do this weekend. I gotta do that. If I don't get this 8 hours on this paycheck, this isn't gonna happen. And as soon as I start thinking about all that, I'm like, screw it. I'll like hit my shoulder real hard or something, like come on, get up, let's go. Like warrior mentality. Because at the end of the day, I've been in life or death situations, and this is not that. So I think making that distinction in my head, like I don't have to be in fight or flight just because it's so bad. And I think I'm just now starting to be capable of doing that. And it's
Yeah,
been a long time.
me too.
Like
It's
I
hard.
literally, I feel like I was in fight or flight
Yeah.
until like 2 years ago, for
Mhm.
like years. And then I like stepped out of it and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, everything's fine. But then as soon as I had something happen that rocked my foundation, and I was like, oh, it's the end of the world. Woo-doo-doo-doo. Like, oh God, I'm about to lose it all. And it wasn't that serious. And I was like, that's fight or flight. Okay, cool, great. That's not fun. And then I was like, okay, there's literally like, I'm not in life or death. I'm not being tortured. I'm not being threatened. I can choose to take an extra break today for my body if I need it. I can choose to go to the doctor if I feel like my pain levels are too bad, and just like give like recognizing my autonomy and realizing, okay, I'm in complete control, so if I want to be hard-headed and go break my back today, I might as well. And I do it. So I'm not saying like be exactly like me, but give yourself the choice to do what you feel is right. I'm never going to overdo it, but I know I can push past my limits just a little bit and still be okay. You know what I mean? And everyone's different, so
I love that you bring up the fight or flight. Yeah, because once you recognize it, it's so true. Like, I still struggle with that. That's still a struggle for me. And
yeah.
that's where I come into the group and it's like, oh, wait a minute. I have support now. I have people
Yeah.
who understand, who get it, when, because you're right, that brain, it's just like that. It's like this moment. It's like death is imminent. Like, so, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it,
Red
brain
alarms
really,
going off. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I love that you put that out there too, that, just, we don't have, like, in that moment, we can pause and say,
Absolutely.
I don't have to go into that mode anymore. But recognizing is huge because I was in
It's
like,
so
like,
hard. It is
yeah,
so hard to recognize it. Like, I could recognize it after the fact forever, but recognizing it as like in real time is like so freaking hard.
You are only as sick as your secrets. It is time to stop suffering in silence and join other women who are also on a healing journey, who are being raw, real, vulnerable, and honest with what they are going through in their life, what they have been through in their life. And wherever two or more are gathered, we know God is with us. It says it right there in the Bible. So there is power to group healing. Miracles happen in there. You have one woman sharing, opening up her heart. Suddenly, everyone else in the group is saying, yeah, I've experienced that. I'm not the only one. There's such power in knowing that you are not alone in your suffering. You are not alone in your healing. And we meet twice a month. And in between those times, a lot happens, right? And it's important that you have time in between the sessions to practice the healing technique that I teach you, so you can come back into the group and celebrate with the other women. Hey, I actually remembered to do the healing technique in that moment. That trigger didn't derail me anymore. But it's practice. I'm also a personal trainer, right? You don't just get a six-pack abs by doing one sit-up. You have to keep doing it over and over again. You don't run a marathon. You don't go out and run 13.1 miles for a half marathon the first time, right? You practice running a little bit every day. And that is what we do in Worthy Woman Healing Group. Join today and tell yourself, I'm going to give this a 3-month commitment minimum, because I know I need time to practice outside of these sessions, and come in and get guidance from the other women on how to actually heal all of these wounds, heal my mind, body, and soul one trigger at a time. You are worth it. It is. But you sound like you do it like that.
No, I'm still working on stuff, honestly. And like I said, I've been having conversations with people and trying to, because I know that I've had enough traumatic brain injuries and I've smoked enough weed for my stuff to be just not so linear up here all the time. You know what I mean? And diagnosably so. It's not like I've just fried my brain cells. I have legitimate issues that can mess with my short-term and long-term memory and the way that I process information. And because I know that, I've been very methodical about planning out my content and how I'm doing things. And it's been like this whole year and like all of last year when I started showing you guys the videos for Vin Gong or whatever, the communications guy,
Yeah.
where I was like, those butts and those ums, y'all. Like, I've been working so hard on that. And I still might slip up from time to time, but I'm practicing the pause and I'm working so hard on it because I'll listen to my old videos and I'm like, ew, like freaking gross, girl, stop it. So, I
You're
mean, it's
telling you,
that.
what is your handle or whatever we call it on TikTok? I want to make sure people can go to your TikTok.
Um, oh, it's just at Survivor Source.
It's just Survivor Source. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, well, we talked about this. Trafficking is different in every case. A lot of people think it's just this one way, right? It's not the Sounds of Freedom people move. Let's just forget about that Sounds of Freedom movie, okay?
Man, it's not that. It's not taken. I mean, hustle and flow might be a little bit
A
more.
little bit. But okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is because you messaged me about, you said, hey, I got my first sugar daddy offer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my, like for me, my radar was going off because I'm like, oh no, no. That's how I got trafficked, was through the DMs like that. Right. It was someone I knew though, someone I knew. But that happens a lot, right? What did you end up doing with that?
Well, I just respond, you know what I'm saying? I'll give people like one chance, and as soon as I realize they're being inappropriate, because I'm trying to engage with as many people on TikTok as I can right now. So even if it gets a little weird, I'm okay with that. But as soon as it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, you're a straight up troll, and nobody's going to learn anything from this, then I'm going to block
Right.
them. And I posted one video of some screenshots and I was like, look, this is as soon as I started talking about trafficking on TikTok, I have like 20 sugar daddy offers. What's up with this, guys? Like, come on now. I'm literally sitting here telling you guys not to buy sex. And you're
And
trying
they're
to
like,
offer
"Hey."
me money to be my sugar daddy. Like, come on, dude. Like, wrong time. Okay. Not read the room, baby. I don't know. So
Did you call his profile out? I feel like I saw a
yeah,
post.
yeah, yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
did. I called one of the profiles out, but there's been a bunch more since then. Like the more content I post, there's just like, hey baby, I'll take good care of you. Blah blah blah. Like, are you freaking hello? Hi. Are you
Like, are
for
you
real?
listening to the content here? But there are women out there who will be like, okay, yeah, this sounds fun. This sounds good. This
Well,
sounds
yeah, no. And I think I'm so immune to it because I mean, my last few years while I was being trafficked, we were because there was like this time where Backpage got shut down and before all the other stuff picked up, and we were just trying to figure out where to post, what to do, all the things. And I know for us personally, we were getting on like Plenty of Fish and any dating site that was a little risque, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we knew the language to use. We knew the little like, and the buyers knew too. If they were regular buyers, they knew P for P and all the things, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I just got so used to reading like BS and knowing like, oh, he's offering to take care of me for the rest of my life. Loser, bullshit, he's
Yeah,
lying, So
yeah.
mentally, I don't even like pay that stuff attention because I had a trafficker behind me, like, don't talk to him, don't talk to him. Look at him, he'll pay you, he won't give you any problems, he's lying. And you know what I mean? So I kind of automatically just in my mind, I'm like, he's bullshit, he's BS, like that's not real, or that's a troll. I never, because it's very rare that a sugar daddy just finds you on social media and is like, hey, beautiful, let me take care of you forever. And actually just literally means that. It
Yeah.
never is. Like, I think he let me try one time talking to somebody like that. And it was like, okay, well, first send me a picture of your feet. Well, first do this. Okay, well, can we meet up? Can I see you in person? Like he's telling me, oh, well, tell him that. If he doesn't meet you in person, da da da. And he's actively showing me how bullshit men are online. And,
So,
so I don't know.
what an you can do a training on that, right?
It's funny because, like I said, I learned from everywhere. My education means everything to me. And that's why I'll probably be in school until the day I die. But
Mhm.
I learned a lot in my experience. And like I said, I'm trying to be completely unbiased in everything that I'm doing and saying right now. And I can absolutely look at certain life experiences and say, yeah, I was trafficked and yeah, it sucked, but I did learn certain things while I was in that point of my life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not going to contribute it to my trafficking. I'm not going to contribute it to a negative portion of my life, but I am going to say it like this whole experience of mine was not like the end all be all. This is not my identity. I learned all of these other things. I did all of these other things. It's more multifaceted, and I want people to be able to see that kind of stuff too.
I love that because you were the first one that said, I think you just said it like this, that, you're more than your story. You're not just your story. You said that. I remember you saying that. That really stuck with me. You know, are your kids going crazy? What's happening over there?
I didn't know if you heard the squeals. That's why I muted myself. It was like a loud shrieking. So like the eel. I don't know. From the Princess Bride, the shrieking eels. Yeah, that's my life over here. But absolutely, I think that survivors are not their stories. I don't think anyone's their story. You don't have to be a survivor of human trafficking. Everyone survived something. Just living in America, it requires some level of survival skills in this
Just
day and
being
age.
born, right? Just
Yeah,
being born.
exactly. You're
Traumatic.
having to deal with your parents' issues, your parents' trauma, your parents' short sights, all the things. Like
Like,
we're
yeah,
all coming into this world messed up in some way.
yeah,
Um,
it's so,
but
yeah. But yeah, your content, how do you decide what you're going to post? Do you go by, there's a couple of questions I want to ask you about your social media, because I think that's an important thing for survivors to navigate. Because what we're talking,
yeah,
there's so many trolls and so there can be such haters, right?
yeah, yeah.
come across any haters? And how do you decide what your content is going to be? Do you base it on stuff, conversations we've had like in the group, or questions people ask you? I'm just curious.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, if people message me, I answer. Like, if people give me something in my DMs, I sometimes make videos off that.
Like
Because,
me,
I mean,
I did.
yeah, you, anybody else. I mean, literally, if you guys message me a DM or if you comment, sometimes I'll do video responses just because I know that I'm trying to use TikTok to educate the public and anyone else that's on here trying to listen. And in order to do that, I need to know what you guys don't know. You know what I mean? Or what you are curious about, or what missing piece can I give you to make this make sense? You know? And I'm not going to know that. Just like when I was talking to the guy that admitted to being a buyer. He was like, I literally I wouldn't have known and I wouldn't have cared. Like we were coming off deployment. I haven't had pussy in this many months. And this girl, you know, she's 18. She wants this. She does this. And I was like, yeah, that was me. I was literally saying the exact same thing when I was 12.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a script, buddy. And
And
I'm
that
not
was,
saying that you were necessarily wrong.
wait a minute, is that
You guys,
how that was on TikTok? You guys,
no, 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 no. This is
oh,
somebody else.
okay.
Yeah, you know, and I'm sure there's people that are commenting on my TikToks that have bought, you know, that have paid for it too. And I'm never gonna throw shade. I'm never gonna hate. I am gonna say that, like, I can look back and see, like, yeah, there were people that paid for me that were that were just as harmful as my traffickers. But I am looking back and saying, like, man, you know, some of you guys are just stupid, you know, or not stupid. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be nice and I'm trying to be not biased. It's not that you're stupid, it's that you don't know better and you should know better.
Mhm.
We live in a society where everything is so on demand and
Yeah.
you can see what you want to see and do what you want to do whenever you want to do it. And
Oh, well, I know another thing that you mentioned, and I've heard dads like joke about this. You know, dad buying his son for like his 18th birthday. Well, I want to make sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's real. It happens. Like those people that joke about it, some of them really do it.
yeah,
And sometimes the son is like so awkward and weird and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, just shut up and you know, here you go. Just
yeah,
chill out. And some of them they're like totally into it and you can tell they're gonna be an asshole just like their dad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Because I think people don't understand when, like the general public, when we're saying the word buyers, they're like, "What is
yeah, it's not some foreign
coach?"
concept.
Their dads, like you said, their dads, coaches, like you said it in that video. You named all
Yeah,
the titles, you know,
absolutely.
and they think it's like this buyer. It's like the Sounds of Freedom, or like you said,
Yeah, no.
like this.
Like I said, I'll call him a trick. I'll call him a John. It's, you know, literally we can use the street slang for it because in those moments, they're stepping into that world and
Mhm.
what they're doing is wrong. And
And
I don't think
I
they understand why it is.
like do you, that. So think about that dad that bought sex for his son for his what 18th birthday. He doesn't identify as a buyer.
No.
Is
And
this
now his son
disconnect?
associates that women can be paid for, that sex can be bought, and that a milestone should be rewarded in sex.
Yeah, and it's normal. It's like normal.
Yeah. You know? And I don't think that everyone gets so brainwashed by every little thing. Like, you know, I'm not really big on speaking on, you know, social media and porn and all of those things because I don't know exactly how I feel about all that stuff. But I
Mhm.
do know that if it's causing so much harm, then there has to be a change made, right? And I
Mhm.
know that when we're not differentiating minors from adults at all, then we need to look at everybody like a minor at this point because kids are being hurt. You know what I mean? And when social media is so accessible to children and pornography is so accessible to children, and there's people like that dad and like those fathers that are like, here, son, here's some pussy for your 18th birthday, you know, like
And that
it's
dad,
genuinely concerning for the
that
future.
yeah, that dad is a buyer, and he's also, you
An
could,
enabler.
yeah, pimping out his son, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
both. He's like he's taking on a role of a kind of a trafficker, and like at the same time. But and then he just goes about his life. And again, like I'm not pointing fingers or anything. I'm just saying like people have this like such a disconnect. you know?
And that's probably somebody's boss or somebody's coworker. You know what I mean? Like, and you would never know. Like, you might think, oh, yeah, he's an asshole at work, but he goes home and takes care of his family. Yeah, he also does this. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you'd
Like
never know.
the
Tom at the water fountain.
so in my case, the trafficker was an executive. He still is an executive producer. And he's like this advocate for women for documentaries. He's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he would traffic a lot of women because he would go into like Facebook groups that were meant for women who have experienced abuse or trafficking or exploitation, and he would like learn from the women, like how did they get into this, how did this happen to them, and he would study it. But he would go in pretending like, I'm an executive producer, I just want to see, I just want to understand. And he would use the word victim. He didn't know what he was doing. They use, the victim's mentality and how this happens, and he was being led into these groups also.
Yeah, I bet.
Crazy.
It's tricky territory because there's so many harmful people in the world. Ideally, in a safe world, we could like have our sexual fantasies and all of our things interpersonally and deal with them in the comforts of our own home. But because of how exploitative in nature our nation and our world is, it's it's hard to really understand what the next solution can be. Um,
Well, I don't think
it's,
people realize that American men are the number one consumer of all
oh yeah,
buyers, right? People don't realize, and that the numbers are going up. They're not going down. Like trafficking
yeah,
going up. It's a
yeah,
multi-billion-dollar industry, and so that's
yeah,
hard when you hear that, right? And I think
yeah.
more
No,
people
it's
understand like the different faces of trafficking, like what it looks like, you know, and the grooming part. That's
yeah, 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 absolutely.
right. That was a big thing for me, was the grooming. I didn't know. The thing is, I didn't know I was being groomed. You don't know it when you're in it. Just like deception.
Right.
Know you're being deceived. That's the whole thing about deception. You don't know you're being deceived until after the fact. So
Right, right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you want to take? What do you want people to take away? So when people, who is your TikTok for, and who is Survivor Source for?
Survivor Source is just supposed to be a safe space and hub for survivors to connect through the career community, through the groups, and have peer support and resource development from one another. And my TikTok is really for the public to provide education and updates on my life and Survivor Source and just all of the things that happen in anti-trafficking and to us as survivors in the movement, but also to educate with my chosen narrative track. So how I'm telling my story in a non-linear way. I'm wanting to share bits and pieces, even if it's a little uncomfortable, even if it makes people be like, oh God, whatever. Really just hear it. And, you know, I'm not coming at it with a bias. I'm not speaking it with hatred. I'm just sharing the facts in the hopes that you guys can learn something from it and maybe understand trafficking and sex work in America a little differently.
I love that. And it's so true the way you describe, like the way you tell your story, you know, you're just you're just telling it, you're just sharing it. And I'm sure people
Yeah.
who aren't familiar, they're like, whoa, you can't see their faces. Like we talked about that. Sometimes when you're
You
talking,
know, and it's so funny because one of the friends that's helping me develop some of my curriculum, he'll tell me, he's like, what's a trick? And I'm like, a trick, like a John, like a buyer. And he's like, okay, I don't know that word. You have to explain to them what that means. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so it's a lot more work going into it than me just popping on my camera and being like, hey, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm like,
right?
hey, da, 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 da. And then I'm going back and I'm like, oh, also, by the way, here's what this means because I'm an idiot.
You need like notes. You need like a note section. This is what this.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that if you're just saying it like that, people will start catching on. Oh, that's what
Yeah,
that is.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, hopefully so, because a lot of these terms are used in modern music and all the other things too. So,
Oh yeah, that's true. We haven't gotten into that. There's so many directions we could go into.
yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean, we can always catch up on another Saturday after that other group too, for sure.
Great. I can't thank you enough for coming on and just
Yeah,
time and just sharing like everything you shared. I think it's so important, and we're gonna make sure we put Survivor Source in there and your TikTok in there
yeah,
because your TikTok is for every. It's like as a survivor, I get a lot out of it. But if I put on different hats, and I think if I don't know anything about trafficking, if I know nothing about it, I would be educated for sure. As
absolutely.
a citizen, as a therapist, as we that's a whole nother direction we can get into, trying to find a therapist who
Oh
understands.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's so many different, but I just think your TikTok has just turned into this incredible educational platform for all people of all walks of life. All walks.
Yeah. I'm glad it's got that feel to it. I'm hoping to really make it into something. So I appreciate all of your positive feedback.
I'm like, how's she saying that? Because I'm like, even what the way I hear you saying parts of your story, I'm taking notes so that I remember that when I'm sharing my story, I can say it in a way that feels comfortable for me
Yeah, absolutely.
and in a way that it's still, it's a, you can, people can get grasp what I'm saying, but at the same time, I'm not sharing like every detail also because I find people do that. They want to just, I can't stand that when people just want to know the details.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm never gonna get into that. And
No,
I'll pick and choose. So if I'm unsure of a comment and I don't know if they're being serious or if they're looking for attention or something like that, a lot of times I'll heart it and leave it alone. Um, and if I see a comment and I'm like, even if they are playing around, I can answer this question and a lot of people can get something from it. I'm gonna do a video response. You know what I mean? Screw
yeah.
them. That comment, I'm gonna use it. That's great. Thank you.
You've had haters on TikTok?
Not no,
Good.
not through comments like uh, that are visible for everyone to see or anything like that. I've had some
Uh,
weird messages, and I've had some weird DMs from like Instagram and Facebook before. TikTok's actually been like relatively the nicest platform.
wow.
Uh, and honestly, even when I've gotten on some of the other creators' live panels and had problems, like we talked about it afterwards and we're cool. So I've genuinely had a really pleasant experience on TikTok, minus the sugar daddies.
I think they're everywhere. Those sugar daddies just pop up everywhere.
Yeah, man, so crazy.
Well, I liked being on that live with you too. Remember, I was at the airport. I was like,
Yeah.
up.
You'll have to get on more. I haven't started. I did like one live of my own and it was just like for me to try to reach a certain amount of time to do something and I don't think I did it right. So but I'm gonna have to do some lives to be able to unlock panels because I don't want to do lives by myself.
Oh, you're gonna do one. I want to start doing lives on TikTok also.
Yeah, I would say like I'm always hopping on Brandy and Swerve in 69 or I don't know, Dark Swerve. He's got a bunch of different pages, but he's a former military, I forget what division. And he's just like been one of the biggest advocates and supports to Kristen and I on there. Like if
Oh,
anybody pops off on a panel, he's like, if you don't leave those two ladies alone, blah 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 blah. He goes off on.
is that the one I was on?
I don't- No, 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 I don't think so. I think he might have been on Brandy's. Brandy's really cool
That
too.
was
Brandy.
There was a man that
Oh,
Grizzly
then maybe
Bear.
it was Grizzly Bear. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I
him that
think it was
well.
Grizzly Bear.
Yeah, I'm not sure about him. I've been on a few lives with him and Kristen, and I know he's been really nice to Kristen. So, like I said, TikTok's been relatively like friendly, so it's been
I'm
cool.
surprised because I feel like TikTok is one of the ones where there's a lot.
I know.
I think it's awesome. I
I
think,
think it's because I'm not very political too. So
yeah.
there's a lot of hatred between like religion and politics and things like that. And because I'm coming on there and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't
I
want to
lo-
talk about that either.
I love that about you because it takes away from the actual issue.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter who you are or what you believe in. This is still happening at the end of the day. So if you guys can't come together and come up with a common like cause or care to help children in our nation, then you're both fucking assholes, in my opinion. I don't care whose side you're on. Like,
So true. And you'll say that too.
yeah, like what are we doing for real? Is it so important to pick a side and pick a color, or is it important to save the kids in our nation? Important to provide support to people that have been suffering for so long because our people are so wicked. Like,
I love that. I love that you.
oh,
I hope people grasp that. Like
me
what
too.
they get nothing out of this. Just put
Me
aside
too.
what your beliefs and all this are, and just focus on stopping this so it doesn't happen anymore.
Right, exactly.
Uh, well, I love you so much. I can't thank you enough for being.
I love you too, Lisa. Thank you for having me on, dude. You're so amazing. I love everything you're doing.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah.